some of these hairs can go downwards, some of these hairs can go upwards. Yes, and here let them also cross. Here below we also need some lighter highlights, brighten up the orange fur here with the cream. This is here working really well, and let some hairs overlap. Draw over this place for several times here and add lots of hairs. So it's really always this process of building up the fur here, hair by hair. Draw over and over it again. The more layers you're able to add, the better and the realistic your portrait will be. Rotate the pencil a little bit, make a curve. Some hairs are longer and overlapping here. Use a little bit more pressure for them. Then always also don't forget to use the craft knife if you would like between, and scratch in here, so little strokes. This is working really well when there are more layers on the paper, like here. Then these scratches show up better. And you can just refine the overall fur structure. Make it finer here. Scratch in fine little darker lines. It is hard to draw, so really fine lines like the knife is achieving with the pencils. Also here, scratching in here some lines, or here above in this little bunch of hair. Okay, then let's also use the ivory. I will also go in with ivory. Again, I light the color here in this overlapping fur here. Sharpen it quickly and then go in also again here with ivory and add some ivory lines on top. Another layer with a lighter color here. They can here overlap and come together to little clumps. They can also be a little bit so wavy. They don't have to be all the time so straight. Make them a little bit curvy, but only a little bit. Let them overlap. You can also go over quicker. Bringing here below also some lighter hairs that are here overlapping. So be here a bit creative, play around a bit. Where can you add some more hairs? Here it could be a little bit more dense, some overlapping hairs here. And also here in the longer fur we can go in with low pressure with the ivory and add some lighter strokes here where these highlights areas are, and also here below. Let them cross a bit, adding here some highlights. Okay. Then I would go in with a sharp black once more and add darker details with a sharp black or a sharp walnut brown. So go in this darker area here once more and add black lines between. Here some fine black lines, also shorter black, little darker sections, shadow sections also between this overlapping fur. Here very gently between. I also like to move the pencil upwards and backwards here very gently and add here the darker sections. Some fine lines upwards that are going into the fur here. You can also bring in here a bit of a red, 192, the Indian red here. Color this darker part here a little bit with the Indian red. If you have the Carputellos, there are different amazing reds and oranges in there. You can also use them for some brilliant colors too. Bringing in here a bit of the Indian red. Okay, let's also use walnut brown once more and go in here once more with walnut brown strokes, or here below this overlapping shorter clump of hair. I also darken this part here down a little bit with walnut brown. Here below the white fur then we can also apply a little bit of walnut brown, and also here where the lighter hairs then are overlapping, it can be a little bit darker. There can be a little bit darker sections between. Then let's use the brilliant orange glaze once more. So when with orange glaze, let's add here, so overlapping brilliant shorter hairs. Add here fine details. And also in the fur here below in the brown one, you can go over once more with the brilliant orange glaze. If you have the feeling that there are some details missing, you always can add details. You can also use terracotta or burnt ochre. Try it out how the colors are working. So let's see how would our terracotta work. Let's have a look. Where is terracotta? Here, 186. I sharpen it. It will also show up over the brown base layer. Let's have a look. Let's try it out. I like to use terracotta too, so you can use it over the brown here. It is nice too. So it also works. It is not so orangey. It is more going into the red. So also the terracotta is a nice color here too, to work over the brown. And then let's use again the yellow 102, the cream, and brighten up this overlapping clumps of hair here, these finer shorter ones. Bringing in here some overlapping highlight hairs. Draw lots of these overlapping hairs over the same place, make them a little wavy. Some are a little bit longer here. For some use very low pressure, and for some a little bit more, so that they are a little bit more yellow and more brilliant. Okay. Again, here above, let's make this fur a little bit more dense. You always can everywhere correct something. Where can you add more hairs, more details? When you work with the yellow, then add yellow hairs wherever you would like. Have a look over your portrait all the time during the drawing process and add some details. We can also bring in here in the face some more short strokes, refine it a bit, these transitions here. Make the fur a little bit fluffy, or add some So fine, short highlight hairs. Okay, then let's work here below on these overlapping white hairs. Here we did the base layer with the white. Let's then go in with an ochre a bit. Let's use 182 here and darken down here the lower part a little bit with the ochre. Don't use too much pressure. Just scratch a little bit over the surface here. And add some ochre strokes here in the lower white fur part. Blend it a bit with the finger or with the paper stamp then. Here, these areas above, and follow the direction of the clumps here and blend white and ochre here together. We can also blend over this white once more and mix the browns a bit in there and the oranges. Then also use a gray a little bit, 283, and bring in here great long lines. Draw them downwards here, let them follow the clump, let them also cross a bit, let them overlap, draw one line over the other. Bringing in here gray lines into the clumps. And also here above we have here the snout that is ending here. So let's bring in here at the edge of the face here some short, smaller gray lines. Also here where the white fur of the snout here is starting. And then follow the hairs here in a curve downwards to the right and draw with a very light hand again here some gray lines into that clump of hair downwards. Let them cross here. Okay. Blend it a bit. Here I would then also use the craft knife and try if we can scratch in here some fine details. This is better when there is more color on it. You see here it is working a bit, but not so well when there is more color on the paper. I have really less color on it. Let's add some more layers and do this then finally. Let's bring in a bit 183, the burnt oak, the beige red, the light flesh in. So let's also bring in some light flesh hairs here into the white fur. Make it more interesting, make it vivid. Bring in different colors in white fur, so add here the light flesh. We can also add a little bit of terracotta, 186. So bringing in here terracotta. Very gently, so draw some lines with terracotta over it, just color this white fur a little bit orangey, not too much. And then use the paper stamp again and blend these lines, blend over these lines once more. And then we add white. Let's add with the white hairs, go over this face here and add some middle long lines that are overlapping here on the cheeks a little bit. Also this part we also have to refine more, so the white hairs are going into the brown fur of the face here. Here we have then short hairs on it. I will quickly refine this part with walnut brown and add here some walnut brown hairs. There can be, in my case, more walnut brown hairs, more brown hairs. Let some brown lines here overlap the white fur too. Bringing in here some more brown lines on the cheek here too. So I just refine it because I've noted it yet. So I will just add here some brown lines. If you have there enough, you can leave it as it is, of course. Let's also add with 130 some highlights here in the face. Orange glaze, some orange glaze strokes, or use the terracotta. It will also work when you use terracotta 186. You can also bring in here so highlights. They are not so orangey like the orange glaze. Just what color you prefer. Here, bring in some fine little lines everywhere. Let them also overlap here over the white fur a bit. And with terracotta, I add here below the white a little bit more orangey color. We'll just darken this down a bit, and then add here the 283, the burnt sienna, and with very low pressure add a layer of very fine thin burnt sienna hairs. Very fine thin burnt sienna lines that are overlapping here, and add here a bit contrast. Okay, then let's work again here on this white fur. Let's use the white and draw here white long lines in a curve over this grayish base layer. Let them here overlap the brown fur. Let them going together to little clumps. Here we can add some single white hairs here upwards. Here they can be longer, draw them longer downwards here, and let them overlap over the orange-brown fur. Draw them in a curve. Here above they are a little bit brighter and white, and then they are here below the face. They are a little bit more going into beige and all the colors we have added before. Draw white lines now, wild over it. Let them cross, let them make little curves. So draw more of them over the same place and let them cross. Use very low pressure. Use a sharp white. Here we have then so clumps that are here coming together. Also here is one clump. Bringing in white lines here. Also let the white hairs here overlap the background. Let them cross. Use very low pressure for this. Let's add here lots of white hairs that are crossing, overlapping. Draw fine wavy lines too. Let them be a little bit wavy sometimes. And overlap here. Bringing in here lots of hairs. Let's do another layer. Then you can blend them gently with a paper stamp if they are a bit gritty. Or also blend the hairline here where they are growing out, that this is dark a bit. Then I would use the craft knife and scratch in here details with the knife too. So some gray lines. Also here you can just scratch gray lines between your light white lines and refine the fur structure bit. Let's just scratch over it here below where the dark color is underneath it. This is working really well. Okay, then let's add another layer. Let's go in a bit with gray again, so darken down here this lower part a bit where the clumps here are growing out. I go in with the gray a bit. Just add here with very low pressure some gray lines, and yes, just increase the depth a little bit with these gray lines. Do it here with dark sepia 175 and add here between also darker sections. In the middle here they are broader, and then make sure that you draw so fine brown ends. Here too, bringing in a bit of a darker color around these clumps. Also bring a darker color into these clumps, and here with very low pressure I also add here some darker color. Or here also where the white fur is overlapping, bring in gently some dark sepia